Hi everybody, welcome to Live Blogger. In the previous video, we started designing these tabs using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. And this is our progress as of now. We have designed the desktop version. Now in this video, we will make it responsive and also add the JavaScript to add the functionality of the tabs. So let's get started. This is our source code, and first of all, let's add a breakpoint for 900 pixels. So when the screen width is less than 900 pixels, we will add some styles. So this is basically for the tablet version. So let's tap at media and we'll set the max width to 900 pixels. And when we are less than 900 pixels, then we will set the width of the tabs container. So here we can see we have this division with the class of tabs container, and by default we have set the width to 800 pixels. We will set the width to 90% of the width of the browser. So let's type tabs container and let's set the width to, let's try 80%. And now here we can see we have 80% width for the tabs container, and if I increase the width of the browser window, here we have 800 pixels of width, but if you decrease the width of the browser window to less than 900 pixels, then we can see that we have a width of 80% of the browser window. And we'll also position these in a different way. So if you scroll up here, for the tab heading container, we have set the display to flex. So let's scroll down and let's target that selector. So let's tap tabs container, tab heading container, and here we will set the justify content property to space between. And now we can see all these headings are spread out. Now for each of the headings, we will set the same width. So let's target each of the headings. So if you go back to the HTML file, here if you scroll up, here we can see inside the tab heading container, we have these divisions with the class of tab heading. So let's target that. Let's tap tabs container, tab heading, and let's set the flex property to 1. Now we can see all of these headings have the same width. Right now let's add one more media query for the smartphone version. So for that, let's tap at media and let's set the max width to 600 pixels. And let me just decrease the width of this browser window. And here we'll select the tabs container. And let's set the width to 90% of the screen width. And we'll also decrease the font size of this heading. So let's tap tab content. So here we can see, if you scroll down, we have this tab content, and in that we have the heading. So let's tap tab content H2 and let's set the font size to 30 pixels. And the font size is not being applied, so let's scroll up and let's see what's the problem. So here we can see we have set the font size to this selector. So here we have a more specific selector. We have tabs container and then we have tab content and H2. So we also need to add tabs container over here in the selector. So let's type tabs container and let's set the margin top to 0, or I think we can increase it a little bit. Let's try 16 pixels and let's set the margin bottom to 8 pixels. Right now let's also decrease the font size of these headings. So let's type tabs container, tab heading, and let's set the font size to 14 pixels, and we'll also set the padding to 8 pixels. Alright, that's it with the smartphone version. Now let's go ahead and start adding the JavaScript to add the functionality. So if you go back to our HTML file, here we can see we have already added the link of the main.js file. Now in the main.js file, we need to reference some of these elements from the HTML. So we need to reference the tab heading. So here we can see we have these tab headings over here, and we need to add an active class to the active tab heading. So here we can see by default we have set the active class to the first tab heading. And we also need to reference the tab content. So here we can see we have this division with the class of tab content, and we need to add the active class to the active tab content. So right now we have set the active class to the second tab content. So I'll just delete this from here and let's add it back to the first tab content by default. So now let's go to our JavaScript file and let's reference those elements. So let's type const tab heading, and we're going to select all the tab headings. So I'll just type all over here. You can name this anything you want. Right, let's type document dot query selector all, because we're going to select multiple elements. And here we'll type tabs container tab heading. Right, now let's reference all the content. So let's type const tab content, and there are multiple contents, so I'll just type all equals document.query selector all, and here I'll just type tabs container tab content. Right, now we need to add event listeners for all these tab headings. So let's type tab heading all, and there are multiple tab headings, so we need to loop through all the tab headings. So I'll just use a for each loop. So I'll just type dot for each, and here I'll just create an arrow function, and for each of the heading I'll just call it h, and we also need to get the index of the headings, so I'll just call it I. So these are the two variables. This is the heading and this is the index. Right, now let's type h.add event listener, and let's listen for the click event, and here also we'll create an arrow function. Now when we click on any of these headings, we need to display the corresponding content. So the index will be the same for the heading and the content. So let's type tab content all, and in square brackets we need to type the index. So I'll just type I, because it is the same index, dot class list dot add, and we need to add the active class. So let's type active, and now we also need to add the active class to the heading. So let's type h, which is the heading, dot class list dot add, and let's add the class active. Right, now let's test it out. So let's click on the second heading, and we can see that the second heading is active, and we have the second heading displayed over here, but we can see that it is displayed below the first content, and we also have the first heading active over here. So we need to reset the active state of the previous headings and content. So let's create a function for that. I'll just call it remove all active. And first of all, let's remove the active class from all the content. So let's type tab content all dot for each, and let's call it C, and here I'll just type C dot class list dot remove, and here I'll just type active. And let's do the same for the tab heading. So let's type tab heading all dot for each, and I'll just call it h, and here I'll just type h dot class list dot remove active. And now we need to call the function over here in this event listener. So here I'll just type remove all active. Right, now let's test it out. So let's click on the second tab heading, and we have the second content displayed over here. And let's click on the third tab heading, and we have the third content displayed over here. So everything is working all right. So that's basically how you can create responsive tabs using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Alright, that's it for this video. I will leave the link of the source code in the description. And if you have any doubts, you can ask in the comments below. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to this channel to get the latest video updates. Thanks a lot for watching. Have a nice day.